and welcome back to my channel and to my spring book haul. So in this video I'm going to go through most of the books that I have put on my TBR since my last book haul, which I think I did back at the end of February, I think. So it's been almost 3 months. The good thing, at least for me, is that I actually haven't bought any physical books since then, which is not something I planned or anything. I did put myself on like a book buying ban or anything like that. It just happened that way. I have a couple of books that I have ordered, but that I haven't received yet. But yeah, I haven't put any new books on my physical TBR since then. And I thought I'd done a lot better with ebooks as well, especially in January. It was a little bit ridiculous, really, how many books I added to my TBR back then. And I have been doing better. I have added less books to my TBR, but there's still a lot of books to talk about in this video. I'm still adding a lot more books to my TBR that I'm able to read, so that is a problem. But you know, that's just how it is. The good thing is that I haven't spent a ton of money on these books. Most of them are either freebies or I got them on sale, so I haven't spent a whole lot of money, thankfully. So in this video I'm not going to talk about the books that I've already read or that I've already put on a TBR. Because, you know, even though it may not look like it, there are still some books that I'm reading pretty quickly after I put them on my TBR. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about those because I've probably already talked about them in wrap-ups or other videos, or I will talk about them in videos in the very near future. So I'm not going to mention them here. So most of the books I'm going to talk about in this video are romance. But there's actually quite a lot of variety in like tropes and subgenres and stuff like that, so that makes me really excited. I also have my computer here because, you know, I need my notes for this video because, like I mentioned, there are a lot of books. So yeah, I'm just going to go through this really quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each book. One, because I don't actually know a lot about the books, and also because I don't want this video to be like super long. So I'm just going to go through them really quickly. So let's start off with a couple of books by N.R. Walker. The first one is Lacuna, and this one is a fantasy romance, which I haven't read a ton of, but I'm interested in reading more in that genre, or subgenre, I should probably say. From the blurb it says that this is a story of swords and sorcery, action and adventure and romance, which sounds like fun. This one I think is a standalone, which is good because there are always so many series. So it's just nice to have a standalone every now and then. This author, as far as I know, have mostly written contemporary romance. One of those books are actually on my TBR for May, and I'm super excited to read that one. But yeah, I'm curious to see what her fantasy romances are like. So, the other book that I have by N.R. Walker is one called The Hate You Drink. This one I think is also a standalone, and this one is a friends to lovers romance, where one of the main characters seems to have like an alcohol problem, and I think also deals with some other things, depression maybe, and it's just generally in a bad place. So this one seems to be kind of like hard-hitting emotional romance. So then I have a few books by E.M. Lindsay, and I seem to remember I had quite a few books by this author in my last book haul as well, which reminds me that I should get to some of them soon. But yeah, the first two are book 1 and 2 in a series. It's The Edge of Heaven and Love in Slow Motion. And these are the first two books in a series called Love Beyond Measure. The first one, The Edge of Heaven, is about a guy who is going to an ex's wedding. But because he's lied to everyone and told them he's dating someone, he needs to find someone to actually go to the wedding with him. So for that reason he hires an escort. And the other one, Love in Slow Motion. The main character in this one seems to be the best friend of one of the characters from the first book. And this one seems to be like a best friend's dad romance, which I don't think I've read a book with that trope, so that could be interesting. Then I have another one by E.M. Lindsay, and it's one called Love Him Wild. And this one is the third book in a series called On the Market, and I'm pretty sure I already have another book in the series on my TBR. I think that one might be the second book in the series, but as usual, it's a series that I have yet to start. And this one seems to be like a romance with 3 people, where I think 2 of the characters are already an established couple before the third one comes in, so interesting to see how that will play out. And then the final E.M. Lindsay book I have is one called Tidal Wave. And this one is the first in a series called Broken Chains MC, which I assume is going to be a motorcycle club romance, which is something that I also haven't read before. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about, honestly, but you know, I'm willing to give it a try. Then let's move on to a couple of books by Rowan Parrish. I read this author for the first time earlier this year, and I absolutely fell in love with her books, so I'm very excited to read more. So the first one I have here is one called The Remaking of Corbin Whale. So about 2 months ago, like I said, I read my first 2 books by this author. It was the 2 books called Better Than People and Best Laid Plans. And on the same day that I finished the first of those 2 books, I was just like looking online because I was at that point just interested in reading everything that this author had written. And suddenly I saw that this book was on sale, so of course I had to get it. This one is a holiday romance, I think, and it seems to be a retelling of Practical Magic, which I have to admit is a story that I'm not familiar with at all, so I don't know what to expect from this one, but you know, it's Rowan Parrish, so that makes me interested. And the other book that I have by this author is one called In the Middle of Somewhere. This one is the first book in a series that is also called Middle of Somewhere. This one seems to be a contemporary romance set in a small town. And it's about 2 characters who just both like struggle to fit in for various reasons, I think. Which honestly sounds like it's going to be my thing, so I'm very excited to read this one. Then we have a book called Lucian, or Lucian, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that name. It's written by Sylvia Violet. This one is the first book in a series called The Marchesi Family. And this one seems to be like a dark mafia romance, which like honestly, I'm not sure if that's going to be my thing or not. I haven't read a lot of dark romance. I'm not sure I've read any that I would consider to be dark romance. But I'm interested in like just trying it out and see what I think. I'm not sure mafia is necessarily going to be my thing, but you know, if it's done well, I can probably get into it. I have read by this author before. I've read 2 books, I think. One of them I really liked. The other one was okay. So I feel like this one could go both ways, really. Then we have one called The Ballerina and the Biker. It's written by Rebecca James. This one is the first book in a series called the Hedonist series. This one, I think it's like an opposite attracts romance. And in the blurb it says, can a young, rich ballet dancer and a rough and tumble biker from the other side of the tracks find love together? Which honestly sounds like it's going to be right up my alley, because like opposites attract romances is definitely something that I enjoy. So then we have 2 books by an author called Anna Ashley. It's the first 2 books in a series. It's How to Catch a Prince and How to Catch a Rival. And these are the first 2 books in a series called Chester Falls. The first book seems to be like a hidden royalty fake relationship romance. And the other one is Enemies to Lovers. And both of them just sounds like something that I'll be into, so excited to try them. Then we have a book that is called Marked by Fire by Mia West. And this one is the first one in a series called Sons of Britain. This one is a fantasy romance, I think, and it's based on the Arthur legend, which I am somewhat familiar with, but I haven't read a ton of books about that legend, so I'll be interesting to see what the author has done with this book. Then we have 2 books by an author called Charlie Goodwine. It's the first 2 books in a series. The first book is called Equinox, and the second one has a title that I am not going to be able to pronounce correctly. It's called Sushiji? Sushiji? That was not correct. I know it wasn't, but you'll see the cover on the screen probably here somewhere. These 2 books are the first 2 books in a series called the Augarten series. And this series seems to be like a magical realism, fantasy-ish type of series. And it also looks kind of historical based on the cover. I honestly have no idea what to expect from this one. I don't read a lot of magical realism, so I'm honestly not sure if this is going to be like my thing or not, but I'm interested in checking it out. So then we have 2 books by Lucy Lennox. The first one is Facing West, and the second one is Wildfire. These books are book number 1 and 3 in a series called Forever Wild. And these books seems to be like small town romances, which is something that I'm always interested in. I have read Lucy Lennox before. Some of you may remember that I read a book by her back in February or March, I think. That was a book that she co-wrote with another author, and I didn't really like it all that much, unfortunately. But I am interested in seeing if I will like some of her other books, and some of the books where she is the single author. So yeah, I just hope I'll enjoy this one more. Then we have a book called Rescue Me by K.M. Newhold. This book is the first book in a series called Heathens Inc. And the blurb of this one doesn't give too much away, so I don't really know what this is about. But I think it's some kind of contemporary romance, which is, the subgenre of romance that I read the most from, so I'm excited about this one. And I have heard good things about the author, so yeah, I'm interested. Then we have a book called The Chimera Affair by Kira Andrews. And this one I think is some kind of spy romance. I assume it will probably be pretty action-filled, which could honestly go both ways for me. I have read some romantic suspense type books, and sometimes I just feel like there is too much action, too little romance. So I'm curious to see how this one will be. I have read from Kira Andrews before, and I have liked what I've read, so that's why I'm interested in this one. Then we have a book by Hayley Turner. It's one called In the Wreckage. This one is the first book in a series called The Meta-Human Files. And this one seems to be like a sci-fi military romance, which honestly, I haven't read anything like that before. And I'm honestly not sure how I'm going to feel about it. I think I'm more interested in the sci-fi part than the military part. But I have heard good things about this series and this author, so I'll be interested to find out how I feel about this one. Then we have Reckless by Kate Hawthorne. This one is the first book in a series called Room for Love. And this apparently is another dad's best friend type of romance. So if I feel like reading a book with that trope, I have a couple of options now apparently. I have read by Kate Hawthorne before. That was a book that she co-wrote with 2 other authors, I think. I like that book though, so I'll be interested in reading this one. Then I have a book called Sometimes They're Stars by Suki Fleet, and this one seems to be more like a hard-hitting emotional romance, which is not really the first thing I look for in a romance, but I like reading a variety of things, and I like having options. So if I'm in the mood to read a book like that, I have it ready to go. Then I have 2 books by Eli Easton. The first one is called Falling Down. And as you could probably tell from the cover, this one is set during fall, so I'll probably try and get to it when the fall comes. And in this one, there seems to be, like, one of the characters seems to be homeless, and the other one seems to have, like, withdrawn to a cabin in the mountains, and I think they meet there somehow, and, like, it just sounds like it's going to be my kind of thing, so. The other book by Eli Easton that I have here is one called Christmas Angel, which is a holiday romance, as you could probably tell from the title. And this one is the first book in a series that is also called The Christmas Angel. And in this series, it seems to consist of 7 books, where all the books are written by different authors, and they all have something to do with, like, a carved Christmas angel decoration thingy. Which sounds interesting, and I think they can all be read as standalone, so it's not like I have to read the entire series. But yeah, it's a holiday romance, and the blurb doesn't say anything about when it's set, but based on the cover it looks kind of historical, which I'm interested in, so. We're getting close to the end now, I promise. But the next book that I have here is one called His Horizon by Con Riley. And this one is also the first book in a series, and it seems to be about 2 rival chefs. So I assume there will be, like, a lot of cooking going on. And it also kind of sounds like it's going to be like enemies to lovers kind of thing, which I'm always interested in. So then we have a book called In This Bed of Snowflakes We Lie by Sophia Soames. This is a holiday romance. And honestly, the main reason I'm interested in this is because it's apparently set in Norway with, like, Norwegian characters. Or at least they have Norwegian sounding names. And I don't think I've ever read a romance set in Norway. And, like, I'm honestly not sure if I'm going to think that it's really nice or just really weird, because I'm just not used to reading that genre in, like, settings that I'm familiar with. So this is going to be really interesting, I think. And I had to look up the author to see if she is actually Norwegian, but it says that she is UK based but is originally from Scandinavia, which could mean that she's Norwegian, or she could be, like, Swedish or something. But yeah, I am really interested in this one, and hopefully it's going to feel, like, somewhat realistic. So I'll probably try and get to it when the holiday season comes, even though I have already quite a few Christmas books, so we'll see, I guess. And the final book that I have on this list is one called Just Friends by Saxon James. This is the first book in a series called Never Just Friends. And, you know, as you can probably tell from the title, it's a friends to lovers romance. I'm honestly still figuring out if that is a trope that I like, because I haven't read a lot of it, but the last time I tried reading that trope, I didn't like the book very much. But I think that if it's done well, it is a trope that I could really enjoy. So yeah, I'm interested in reading this one as well. So yeah, that was all the books, or most of the books that I've acquired since my last book haul. It's still a lot, and I have no idea when I'll be able to get to all of these. Like, I'm super interested and super excited to read all of them, but you know, so many books and so little time. But yeah, let me know if any of these sounded interesting to you, or if you've read any of these books. Like, I would love to hear what you think, if you have read any of them. So I think that's going to be it for this video. I'm not sure how interesting this was, but like, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. So if you like it, you can always hit the thumbs up, and of course subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos from me. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!